mark with a low drive, charging the net, they'll score! Short-handed, the veteran Adam Henrique. Kochetkov back for Aho, he's shot out in front, rebounds available. As Rantanen providing the net front presence there.
He just missed a tip on that chance coming from Chatfield too. Good wall.
Goss to spare, crowd coming to life. Whipped across, Rantanen out front, the score! Sebastian Aho on the power play! McDavid lose the handle, and here comes Aho on a break, short-handed. Pickard with the save, and then he's crashed into by Ekholm, and that knocks the net off the pegs.
Did Ekholm deliberately trying to get back and contest the breakaway, deliberately knock that net off the pegs. What a play from Jarvis to lead Aho onside. Super save from Pickard.
Of course, Matthias Ekholm knocked the net off the pegs intentionally. Rod Brindamore said it afterwards. He goes, smart play. He knows they're not going to call it. They're never going to call that. Oh, man. Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Thank you very much for spending some time with us after a frustrating 3-1 loss to the Edmonton Oilers as the Hurricanes failed to stack consecutive wins after the Four Nations break. Loss, win, loss, and the standings, people are getting kind of snug. We'll go through those in a little bit. I actually might have to get out of the camera because I left the standings over there on the desk behind me, but getting a little snug. Columbus won. They're just 4 points behind Carolina. New Jersey was even with Utah at the start of this podcast, so we'll try to check a New Jersey Devils score. But Columbus is playing great. They've now won 4 in a row. All right, let's talk about tonight, and we'll try not to pull our hair out. I have already done that. And we can start at the beginning of the game, because the first period power play debacle. I mean, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. You can't be terrible on the power play. It can't be a detriment to the rest of the game. But in the first period, I mean, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I actually thought that first power play, which ended up as a shorthanded goal, was, without question, the worst power play I have ever seen in my life, in terms of watching NHL hockey. Like, my kid played youth hockey for about 3 years. They had some pretty bad power plays. This was atrocious. Mind-blowingly bad. To the point where Rod couldn't even watch the first unit at all and pulled him off the ice. And the second unit, this is on the first power play, they were just about as bad and gave up the short-handed goal. I couldn't believe it was that bad. The whole period was bad. But the second and third power plays weren't nearly as bad as the first one, which, again, was the worst power play I've ever seen in my entire life. In fact, I actually was keeping track. If you go back and watch it, I think Carolina had 7 different times they tried to enter the zone and couldn't. I think it was 7 out of 8, I think, in the first 2 power plays, tried to enter the zone and couldn't. I think they got set up a little bit on the third one, but ultimately the 3 power plays in the first period were just garbage. And they trailed 1-0 after 1. The bottom line is, at 5-on-5, Carolina was fine tonight. It really wasn't bad. Both sides were kind of messy. I think both sides played a little bit, I don't know, not quite as free. There just wasn't a ton of room, but I thought 5-on-5, I thought it was a pretty even game. Carolina's power play was atrocious. It can't even talk about it. And it's not about personnel. It just isn't about personnel. It's about confidence. And I will say that if we want to kick it ahead to the third period, that power play, they want to face off. Actually, because you're down 2 goals, you're flying around. There's a lesson to be learned here. Power plays still need to outwork the other team. There's not so much room on the ice where 4 players can't guard 5. Just isn't. So what we learn, what we know about power plays is that there's not a lot of things you can do differently than other teams. How well do you move the puck? How well do you move your players? And honestly, how hard do they work? And if you just pass the puck around, you're probably not going to score. But there was good retrieval, good movement, and the Rantanen pass to Aho on the back door was just elite. And it ended up as a goal, 2-1. But ultimately, those first 3 power plays were so bad, it's almost not even worth talking about the power play goal because the first 3 power plays were just the worst you've ever seen. So, I don't want to spend too much time on that. We can move on. Let me just give you like my overall impression of the game. And normally I don't do impressions. So, again, I said 5-on-5. I thought the game was pretty even. I didn't dislike Carolina at all 5-on-5 in terms of, generating scoring chances. Both sides generated scoring chances in this game. The reality is Edmonton probably, instead of being a 3-1 game, this could have been a 5-4 game, to be honest. I'll tell you what, let me just stop right here. And I'll give you, if there's a good thing about this game, any good sign from this game. And I'll just say that I thought Frederik Andersen played pretty well. So there's that. I just think he battled and played pretty well. And Carolina did have some good desperation plays in the game. Shane Gostisbehere, I still think that puck went in the net. The NHL didn't stop it, so it obviously didn't. But that puck looked like it was completely across the line. It definitely, if it wasn't completely across the line, there was maybe no more than a half inch of the puck still touching the goal line when Gostisbehere finally swept it away. But overall, I thought, especially in the first 2 periods, I thought Carolina's passing was bad. I thought their attempted clearances were bad from their own zone. And they gave the puck away a ton. There weren't as many giveaways in the third period. So Carolina's sloppiness, and again, I'm gonna go grab in a second. I'm gonna go grab the box score through 2 periods, and I'm gonna grab the standing. So I'm gonna leave the screen for a second. But I thought through 2 periods, the passing, attempted clearances, and the giveaways were so bad. But Edmonton's were about the same. So this was just the type of game it was. But Carolina was by far their own worst enemy tonight. By far. And I just want to start with the first shift of the third period, which had to be a 90-second shift for Staal, Martinook, and Jarvis. And Orlov and Chatfield. Because there were 3 icings. There were at least that many easy failed defensive zone clearing opportunities. And they just got hemmed in. I really thought that was going to be it right there. They survived it. But my gosh, it was just a terrible opening shift to the second period because there was just so many chances to either get the puck out. They iced. It was just awful. Awful. But to me, that was indicative of kind of how Carolina played in the first 2 periods. Again, the offense has not been good, and the offense hasn't been good for a while. Before we, go through a lot of other things, the Hurricanes are, as I know some of you have pointed out on Twitter, 4-6-1 since acquiring Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall. We do seem, people seem to be forgetting that Carolina hadn't been that many games over 500 since the first 20 games of the season. So they haven't been consistently good, really good, since the first 20, 25 games. So it really doesn't look, it looks a little bit different, but the results are not dramatically different. Granted, this is a rougher patch, but I think ultimately Carolina is the same team, even though they look a little different. I think they're basically the same team in terms of quality that we've seen for the last, 40 games. So we're brought to you by did I even say this? We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. You can see it right there in your screen. The Aluminum Company of North Carolina, aluminumcompany.com. You should check them out online for all of your home exterior needs. They are great. All right, now I'm going to go get those 2 documents that I wanted to get, and we'll be right back. I apologize for doing this. All right, we're back. See what happens on live YouTube? We'll get to the standings in a little bit, but the Hurricanes again really were their own worst enemy in terms of giving the puck away, like it was part of the game plan tonight. And again, Edmonton was kind of the same way. It just was a very, very sloppy game for the most part. Look, again, both sides did this. So you go into the game, you're trying to establish something, and you had a hard time from the beginning because you get behind, you give up the shorthanded goal, and you just can't get any traction in the first period. Again, Edmonton didn't do much in the first period either. That's why I said it was kind of an even game at 5-on-5. Second period, I thought Edmonton got off to a great start. We talked about that opening shift. And I thought from maybe the first 4 or 5 minutes of the period, Edmonton was really good. And then I thought Carolina controlled the game until the Corey Perry goal. And the Corey Perry goal, which was a great pass from Leon Draisaitl, was really indicative of part of Carolina's problem tonight. And I think because there's not a ton in this game to really flesh out other than, all the opportunities to score late that Carolina didn't connect on, is that at 1-0, you have an opportunity to get to the third period only down a goal. If that's you might even get a chance to tie at the end of the period. And Jalen Chatfield's trying to get the puck out of the zone, and he gives the puck away. I guess he gave the puck away to Draisaitl. And Draisaitl ends up passing actually it was somebody then to Draisaitl. And Draisaitl ends up passing the puck back, backhand pass to Corey Perry on the back door for an easy tap-in. But Chatfield gives the puck away. Has it, gives it away. Orlov defending Draisaitl. He's there, but really doesn't do very much to prevent the pass. Goes right past him. And Chatfield has the puck go right past him to Corey Perry in the back door. And for the most part this year, Jalen has been great. So it's really, I'm not going to sit here and complain about Jalen Chatfield. But tonight was not a good game. And that pair has been maybe lately a little bit up and down. But again, Chatfield's been mostly good defensively all year long. But he struggled tonight. And that really hurts because you're not playing Slavin and Burns 30 minutes. Although, if I were Rod, maybe tonight, would have been a night to try that. Although you got a back-to-back, so you don't want to jeopardize tomorrow's game either. But Orlov and Chatfield were no good tonight. And so that ultimately hurts Carolina's chances of winning. On the bright side, Gostisbehere and Walker were pretty good. I don't think they were awesome, but I thought Gostisbehere and Walker were pretty good. But it's not their thing. You're not going to put Gostisbehere and Walker out in high leverage defensive situations because that's not what they're there to do. Ghost played, I think it was just under 17 minutes. Walker played just under 15 minutes. So it still became Orlov and Chatfield as the second defensive pairing because, again, Chatfield is, arguably your second best defensive defenseman. But as a tandem tonight, they weren't great. And if they're not going to be great in a game like this, it's really, really hard to win. Now, Carolina still only allowed 2 goals. So, again, get back to the fact that Freddie Andersen played pretty well tonight. And this might be an unpopular opinion for some of you, but I actually thought Brent Burns was good tonight. And I realize that Burns has played poorly enough of late. Although, again, I thought against Buffalo, I thought he was very good. Where a mistake that he makes, and he made 2 that I honestly think that mattered tonight. And we'll get to that. But he has played poorly enough over the last 6 weeks or so where I get it. Burns makes a mistake, therefore Burns sucks, and the whole game it won't matter. That'll be in everybody's brain. We have to get rid of him. But I actually thought he was good tonight. He and Slavin, and whether it was the Aho line or occasionally the Staal line out against McDavid, or occasionally against Draisaitl, I thought Slavin and Burns were really good tonight. So, and there's a reason why Connor McDavid didn't dominate the game, because he didn't. And Draisaitl didn't dominate the game either, because he didn't. As a matter of fact, Carolina really lost, although it was great pass from Draisaitl. Again, I thought Carolina lost because, they just didn't manage the puck well enough as a group. But again, I thought Slavin and Burns are good. Slavin is always great, but he got turned around, right, for that goal. For the not the goal, there was a great save by Andersen. I thought Burns actually came over and did some good things to bother McDavid. But hey, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be occasionally mad at Brent Burns, but here are the 2 mistakes. The mistake on the first power play goal, and it wasn't that Carolina didn't have a good power play. That's not, Burns is part of it, but I'm not blaming him for their horrendous power play. But when you can't lose the box out to Adam Henrique, because that's the goal. Andersen stops the initial shot. You'd like to not see the rebound put back into play, but he stops the initial shot. Then it's up to Brent Burns to not lose the box out. And he lost the box out because, that's just to carry him off of Adam Henrique and back in. So that's the first mistake that Brent Burns made, something like that. And the second mistake didn't hurt Carolina, but it probably should have. And that's right after Andersen is pulled with a little bit more than 2 minutes left, roughly 2 minutes left, whatever it was. Burns gave the puck away immediately. And I'm not sure that wasn't his first or only giveaway of the night, credited giveaway. Let me go check that. Burns, 1 giveaway. I'm pretty sure it was that one. That was it. And the biggest problems with Brent Burns, really, for my money over the last 6, however many weeks it is, the real problem with Burns has been giving the puck away. I think defensively, he's for the most part been good, and I thought he was good tonight. But that giveaway should have led to an empty net goal. Somehow it didn't, because Jarvis and Gostisbehere both desperately defended and kept the puck out of the net. So, and Ghost had the other play. I remember the Teuvo Teravainen play where he turned his stick over just toe down and kept the puck out a few years ago in Boston. I think if we watch this play 1,000 times, if I watched it 1,000 times, I might still be convinced that puck crossed the line. I haven't seen it slowed down, but boy, did that look like it crossed the line. Anyway, glad it didn't. Zach Hyman had a goal chalked off because it went in with a kicking motion. Tripp said it. I said it before in this podcast. If me as a player can kick the puck to a teammate in the offensive zone, in the defensive zone, wherever, there is no reason I can't kick a puck into the net. I get the safety issue. You want your skate to stay on the ice. But again, in my NHL, that would be a goal. But I'm glad it wasn't because it kept Carolina viable. And even that came after an awful turnover by Jordan Martinook. An opportunity to clear the puck that you don't. It ends up in your net, but the goal again was waved off for going in with a kicking motion. So I get mad at Burns for the last 6 weeks, but if your takeaway from tonight's game is that Brent Burns is no good, then that has nothing to do with tonight's game. And again, I ain't even arguing with you because it hasn't been great for him of late, although he was good, really good, I thought, on Thursday. And again, I thought he was good tonight. Now, this question, I know I saw this in the chat. Sorry, I didn't go through it. I was scrambling to get this thing started when it did. If you're asking me, does Carolina have a good enough blue line for a deep playoff run? A, I think you know the answer. But B, my answer is no, they don't. Which is why when we talk about this team in terms of what it can accomplish, if you listen to any of the national, hockey voices, whether you're listening to Elliot Friedman or you listen to Sirius XM and you hear them talking about the Canes, or you read stuff on ESPN, wherever you get your hockey info, there's a sentiment out there that regardless of what happens, even if you can't sign Mikko Rantanen, you should just try to win a Stanley Cup with him. I agree, you should try. I don't think you'll succeed. It has nothing to do with Rantanen. Because ultimately, I think Carolina has two weaknesses that they might not be able to overcome, even if Carolina's scoring a bunch of goals, which they are not. And that is, the blue line looks like it just isn't going to be good enough, especially when we get to the postseason. It hasn't been good enough defensively. And when I say that, I don't think Carolina's bad on the back end. But they're clearly not elite on the back end like they have been in the past. So, as it turns out, this is obviously one of these No Crap the Magazine exclusives. As it turns out, Skjei and Pesce not being here anymore to be Carolina's other shutdown defensive pairing matters. Gostisbehere and Walker, not a shutdown pairing. As it turns out, this version of Dmitry Orlov and Jalen Chatfield, not a shutdown pairing. Now, let's get to the real issue here. And the real issue, in spite of what you might believe, isn't Brent Burns, but it is Dmitry Orlov. And I was having this conversation with Luke Takak the other day, and I'll probably talk to him on the radio about it this week. I think, like in my brain, there's a scenario where Orlov gets back to being the Orlov of the second half of last year. I think there's a scenario for that. But I haven't seen anything over the last several weeks that leads me to believe that it's imminent. Again, if Burns doesn't give the puck away, I think Brent Burns has been good. Now, what I'd like to see is less exposure for Brent Burns, but they don't have any other options. And this is what I keep saying. Like, Carolina's got very limited cap room. And you could bring up Scott Morrow, but I suggested this. I suggested this a few podcasts ago, that Carolina might just need to just give it a spin. And if you have to give Dimitri a day off, I thought that was the reason they called Scott Morrow up before the break. I really do. I thought that was the reason they called Morrow up, because he deserves it. That's what I read. That's what I heard. I heard people say that out loud. Not you, not me. I heard people around the team say that out loud. I heard Rod Brindamore say it. I heard other people within the organization tell me he deserves it. Well, he didn't play much, and he played as a seventh defenseman. So you called him up for a reason. Why not call him up and let him play? Look, at the very least, I'll answer my own question in a second. In terms of quality, it's clear that they don't believe that Scott Morrow can be a better player today than Orlov. Because I think ultimately that's whose spot in the lineup he would take, even though it would be a difficult thing to fit in. I think what you could do is, and I would consider this, playing either Walker with Slavin and Burns with Chatfield. Chatfield can play his offside. Let Chatfield play the left side. And then bring Morrow up to play with Gostisbehere. Actually, you'd probably be better off playing Morrow with Chatfield and leaving Walker and Gostisbehere together and leaving Burns and Slavin together. But I think that's really what I would like to see. But I don't know that we're going to see it, because you may hate it and whatever. It is what it is. Rod doesn't do the healthy scratch for veteran players. He just doesn't. And look, last year at the end of the year, Orlov was playing 20, 21 minutes a night, and he was playing well. And this year, for whatever reason, his game has vanished. And I don't know if it's coming back. Again, I still think that he sort of looks the same, apart from he's just making a ton of mistakes. And maybe that's not correctable with Dimitri. I would just like to see options, and they don't have options. And I've been saying this for a while. Even when it was going relatively well, if I was the Hurricanes, I would be looking for not one, but two veteran NHL defensemen that I could plug into my lineup if I needed them in a playoffs. Right now, Carolina's blue line depth is Riley Stillman, Scott Morrow. Is Ty Smith even in the minor leagues? Ty Smith? Yeah, it ain't nothing. That's not playoff blue line depth. Will they have Alexander Nikishin in the playoffs? Maybe. Russian League doesn't end until March 23rd. That's the regular season. By the way, SKA St. Petersburg clinched the playoff spot today. So it's very possible that, because I think they might be the second best team in their conference, it's very possible they go at least 2 rounds, and it's 4 weeks, and now we're talking about late April. Heck, that might be too late. Not even that kidding. Not even that kidding. So if you're thinking about adding Alexander Nikishin to the mix, man, I hate to wait till the end of April to add Alexander Nikishin. So herein lies the dilemma. Like, I'm just not sure it's fixable from within. Because I think if Morrow were clearly ready to play, I think the Hurricanes have looked at their lineup long enough to go, I'm not sure Seven's coming back. I'm not sure we're going to ever get the, good enough Dmitry Orlov to play 22 minutes a night if you want to protect the third pair. The truth of the matter is that while Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker, I thought did play well tonight, there's a reason they're playing lower minutes. Gostisbehere is getting some power play time, obviously, and he played a lot. Pardon me, on the extra attacker situation. But you're still talking about somebody around 17, 18 minutes a game. Walker didn't play a ton tonight. I actually have liked Sean Walker of late. So I don't think their blue line is good enough. It was encouraging to see Frederik Andersen play better. So maybe that is not a lost cause in terms of things that will keep Carolina from winning a Stanley Cup. But of course, it's really hard to judge anything based on the fact that Carolina, again, couldn't score tonight. They got a goal. That's cool. Got none in Montreal. Scored 3 basically after the game was over in Toronto. So the offense is going to have to start really carrying more of a load and not leaving everything on a blue line, which isn't quite as good as it used to be, and goaltending, and while Freddie Andersen was good tonight, I think has shown to be very shaky. And again, in the playoffs, I think those two things will prevent Carolina from winning. I think you might be able to get away and win a round, but you ain't winning 2. The one thing that in a text exchange with Greg Wyshynski, because I was explaining to him why the Hurricanes maybe should consider dealing Mikko Rantanen, and I'm not suggesting they should. I'm just saying that I think you might want to consider it, is because I don't believe right now that they're going to win a Stanley Cup as constituted unless something really changes drastically in terms of the performance and really it's about the performance. The production should follow a better performance. But I just don't know that they're going to prevent enough goals, get good enough goaltending, and honestly, find enough offense at this point. If the offense kicks back on, then yeah, maybe you can mitigate some of those. But boy, every round you go, man, you're meeting somebody better. I mean, this is all obvious stuff, but they just don't look good enough to me. And again, a lot of that is the offense, but it's the other things that I think are much more glaring and will prevent them ultimately from beating the best teams. With that said, they've even including tonight, their record against the Pacific Division was 8-2-1 coming into tonight. Forget about Pacific, right? They split with Colorado. They beat Colorado twice. They've done well against Colorado. Didn't do well against Minnesota. But you swept Dallas. So they've beaten the teams in the West. And the East is kind of a mess, although I still think it all goes through Florida. Washington's now lost, 3 in a row. So that's what Greg Wyshynski said to me. He goes, look, everybody's in the same boat in the East. Doesn't seem to be anybody great in the East. So, yeah, logic says just get hot at the right time, see what happens. Sure, I'm on board for that. But it doesn't change the reality of the issues that they've got. And I definitely think, considering the exposure that Orlov, that he always gets on the back end, against top, offensive players, it's hard for me to see the Hurricanes going deep if number 7's got to play. So, and again, tonight didn't help that Jalen Chatfield wasn't very good, but is what it is. And now the other part of this equation is you do got to score. Sebastian had 2 great chances. I know you have to score the breakaway. I'm not going to argue you'd like to see him cash in that breakaway opportunity. A superb pass from Seth Jarvis. But here's where, you want to see him score. Great save by Calvin Pickard. So, sucks, but credit to the goaltender because it really was a great save. But Aho had 2 chances after scoring the goal to make it 2-1. Mikko Rantanen, puck on his stick, point blank. Can't get it to go. Roslovic had, 1 or 2 great chances. Jesperi Kotkaniemi had a chance in tight. Jordan Martinook hit the post at 1-0. So the chances to score were sitting there. And Aho's kicking himself because he missed that opportunity at 2-1 to make it 2-2. And I think if Carolina had gotten into overtime, I think they would have won in overtime. They would have had so much momentum and energy. And again, the third period looked better. So there have to be takeaways from the third period that Carolina can build on, or at least point towards, and think, man, we could do that. But none of it matters to you and none of it matters to them because they didn't do it, right? I thought Jordan Staal played a good game tonight against mostly Leon Draisaitl. Played a little bit more than 17 and a half minutes, won 10 of 15 faceoffs. Thought Aho was good tonight, even though he had some opportunities to score late on that didn't go. He played more than 23 minutes, mostly against Connor McDavid. Not every shift against Connor McDavid, but a lot. I thought Rantanen was pretty good tonight. The pass to Aho on the power play was elite. But I thought that he and just about every one of Carolina's forwards, I thought he was a little, not great with the puck. And because to me, he contributed almost as much to Carolina's issues of getting passes intercepted. I thought he was as culpable for that as anybody. So again, it really boiled down to Carolina. There was bad passing too many times. They couldn't clear the zone with just like the puck is right there. Can somebody just whack it the hell down the ice? And they gave the puck away a ton. As a group, gave the puck away a ton. Again, Slavin was great. I thought Burns was good too. But everybody's already got their opinion. Not everybody. Well, everybody does, but the anti-Brent Burns people, it doesn't matter what he does, even if he makes good plays. We're going to ignore the fact that he made a good play, and we're just going to rail when it doesn't go well. I've told you the 2 mistakes I thought he made tonight. Clearly on the shorthanded goal, can't lose a box out. Can't lose a box out to Adam Henrique. And then he gave the puck away right after Frederik Andersen was pulled. That didn't cost them. The shorthanded goal did. Who knows how the game plays out if that doesn't go. But again, that power play deserved to be scored upon. That's how bad that power play was. It pretty much does it. The bigger picture things about the Hurricanes, I think, will be interesting. And just to finish where I was going with that thought, and the reason I brought it up on the radio and reason I've said it here is that, look, they're going to try and sign Mikko Rantanen. And they've got till next Friday before the deadline, before they have to make any decision on what they believe the end of the season will bring. But I would not be opposed if they think, if he tells them, let's just say he tells them, I'm not signing, at least until I go into free agency. And that is his right to do that. And if that's what I hear from Rantanen, that I am not going to sign before becoming a free agent. And really what that means is he's going to sign the first day of free agency, either with the Hurricanes or before then, or with a team where he wants to go. If he gives me that indication, then I do believe the Hurricanes should explore getting something. Here was interesting. Now, he's been pretty inconsistent, but the Panthers traded Spencer Knight to Chicago for Seth Jones. Jones has been pretty mediocre for Chicago. But playing for Florida should be pretty much an eye-opener. Chicago is retaining, I think, 25% of the deal, of the contract, which is over $9 million a year. And Florida gets him for a few more years. Like, I don't know if Seth Jones is any good anymore. He hadn't been good in Chicago, but like nobody's good in Chicago right now. So I guess the larger point is, if you look at your roster and you see, man, this hole, are we going to fill this hole? Can we fill it this year? Can we fill it this year, into next year, into the next year? Like, I'm not saying you have to trade him, but if there's a number 2 center out there that you can get by using Rantanen, and you know he's not going to sign for you, man, I think you got to get better. I think this team would do that if they think it will make them a better team or give them a better chance to win. So I think to me, it just should be on the table. And I've already talked about why I think it would be a terrible PR hit for this organization. But I don't think this organization gives a damn about PR hits. I really don't. And they shouldn't. But I do think that the national media will take it as see, the Canes can't do this, and these players don't want to play for Carolina. This wouldn't necessarily be Rantanen's decision unless he told them, I ain't staying. But it would be the organization's decision. Like, you know what? We've seen it for however many games. It isn't as great as we needed it to be. We have all of these other issues we need to address. But again, a lot of these can be addressed through free agency. But the bigger point was that if this team wants to win a Stanley Cup, I just don't know if it's going to happen with this roster of players, even if Mikko Rantanen is playing well. And he was better tonight. Thought he was pretty good tonight. I didn't think it was great tonight because he was part of the giveaway brigade in the first and second period. Either way, I think I've rambled enough tonight. The good is that Andersen looked good. The bad is that it was the worst power play. That first power play was the worst power play I've ever seen in my entire life. There is no second place. But they scored a power play goal when they desperately needed it in the third period, and they just couldn't get the other one. And then, yes, Sebastian Aho had a breakaway, and he didn't make it. He didn't convert it. All right, got to beat the Flames. Oh, real quick, standings. And very quickly to check the score in Utah between the Devils and the Club, because this game does matter to Carolina. Devils have a 3-1 lead. They're going to win that game. All right, so here are the standings now in the Metropolitan Division. Washington, who has lost 3 in a row, still on 84 points. Carolina and New Jersey tied 72 points. Carolina's got a game in hand. Columbus has 68 points. So 4 points separate the Hurricanes and the wild card pool. Desperation, baby. The wild card race right now, Columbus 68, Detroit 66, Ottawa and Boston 64, Montreal 63, the Rangers and Philadelphia 62. So behind Columbus, there are 6 teams within 4 points for one spot. And I saw somebody say it on Twitter, and I think somebody had it in the chat. If Carolina makes the playoffs. Yeah. If they make the playoffs. Because there are no guarantees. And it's been, basically just a little bit more than a 500 team for the last few months. That's just a fact. So, we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hannon and his crew do a great job. Toss those in the trash. I missed the trash. That's terrible. And we'll do this again after the game against the Flames tomorrow. In a game where Carolina's really got to win. And they go to Detroit after that and then come home against Boston. Nobody's going to feel sorry for the Hurricanes. So they got decisions to make coming up next week. And they got to start winning hockey. You got to start getting points. Now what? Have lost 6 of 8 in regulation. Not getting anything out of these games. A lot of other teams are losing in overtime. Hurricanes aren't even dragging these games to OT. All right, we'll see everybody tomorrow after the Canes and the Flames. Thank you very much. Subscribe, like, share, do what you got to do. Let's build this whole little community because we love each other so much. I'll see you tomorrow.